You think Pixar's Cars is just a movie about talking vehicles? You're expecting something fun, something safe. But what if the darkest secret in this entire universe is hiding inside a 3-second joke that almost nobody noticed? Tonight, we're pulling that secret apart. We're talking genetic experiments, ancient mythology, and something that's going to crawl under your skin and stay there. I'm Mr. Blessed. Grab something warm, we're going in. We're talking about the Screamin' Banshee. This isn't just an Easter egg. Once you understand what this thing actually is, you won't be able to look at this franchise the same way again. Fair warning, the themes we're covering tonight are for the adults in the room. I'll keep it clean, but I won't be pulling punches. We're going to places the Pixar marketing team really doesn't want you to look. Let's go back to where it started. The short film Mater and the Ghost Light. The whole story is a prank war. The folks in Radiator Springs decide Mater's gone too far, so the sheriff spins him a legend. There's something out in the dark called the Ghost Light, a mysterious blue orb. It hates the sound of clanking metal. Mater panics. He tears through the desert all night. And then, surprise, it was just a lantern. McQueen and Guido tied it to his tow hook the whole time. Everyone laughs. It's over. The sheriff tells Mater the only real monster is his own imagination. Sweet ending. Roll credits. Except, Doc Hudson throws in one last line. He says the only thing Mater actually needs to worry about is the Screamin' Banshee. The town goes home. Mater's alone in the dark. And then the credits end. Out in Ornament Valley, pitch black, something rises up in front of him. It's enormous. It's wrong. It growls at him with a sound that doesn't belong to any normal vehicle. Anyone else would have frozen solid, but Mater just looks up at it and says, "You'd better run. They say there's a Banshee out here tonight, but I ain't seen him yet. Good night." And he drives home. The monster just stands there, confused. Now, strip away the joke for a second. Look at what this thing actually looks like. Because the design isn't random. Every piece of it is a clue. The Banshee is built from a rusted Mack truck cab. It's riding on spiked monster truck tires. It's got heavy iron steamroller wheels. There's a dump truck bed bolted to the back with giant exhaust pipes. And its mouth, where a normal bumper would be, it's an excavator bucket. Jagged, steel, cold. There's even a crane boom welded straight into its spine. Look closely. That's not a standard car model. It's a chimera, stitched together from pieces that were never meant to touch each other. But here's the detail that changes everything. Look at its right eye. The windshield is cracked, splintered from the inside out. The eye behind it is dead, cloudy, gray, like a light that went out a long time ago. In this universe, the windshield is the soul. A cracked one doesn't mean a scratch. It means something hit this creature so hard, or something was done to it so brutally that it lost part of itself. Permanently. You see, the Banshee isn't some monster hunting in the dark. He's a victim hiding from the light. Let's talk about the name. Screamin' Banshee. You probably know the myth. An Irish death spirit. She wails outside your house when someone's about to die. But there's a catch, a real one. A banshee only haunts old Celtic families. Specifically, families whose names start with O or Mac. You see it now, don't you? The Screamin' Banshee is built from a Mack truck. A death spirit tied to the Macks took the body of a Mack. That's not an accident. That's a joke buried so deep that most people watching this movie never clocked it once. But here's where it gets weird. Mater calls the Banshee a guy. He says, "I ain't seen him yet." A male Banshee. That breaks the myth entirely. And the translators who worked on the international dubs noticed right away. So I went digging, and I found the answer in Italy. The Italian dub didn't just change a word or two. They renamed it completely. They called it the Screaming Witch and gave the monster back its female identity. But it doesn't stop there. In 2010, there was a rare Italian Cars magazine, issue 31. Inside it, there was a one-page comic that almost nobody's ever seen. The title translates to who is crying now? In that comic, the Banshee comes back. Mater, McQueen, and Luigi run into it, and McQueen, being McQueen, rolls right up to this broken, towering thing and calls it Ragazzone. Big boy. The Banshee snaps. It goes into a blind rage. Mater screams at McQueen to run, yelling that the Banshee absolutely cannot hear that word. Think about that for a second. One specific phrase breaks this creature. Why? Big boy is what you say to mock someone who's large, but maybe slow, maybe easy to push around. Now look at the Banshee again. Its mismatched body, its shattered eye, its stolen parts. Whoever put this thing together, they mocked it while they did it. They called it Big Boy while they were tearing it apart and welding it back together. That word isn't just an insult. It's a memory of the worst thing that ever happened to it. Here's the question nobody's really asked. How does life actually work in this universe? You see these vehicles get old. You see them raise kids, but you also know they're built from factory parts. So which is it? Are they born or are they made? To understand what happened to the Banshee, you need to think about Bessie. Remember Bessie? The massive road paving machine they chained McQueen to in the first film. She's huge and slow, and she belches boiling tar. But she doesn't have eyes. She doesn't have a mouth. She doesn't think. She just works. She's a tool, not a person. Now look at the Banshee. Yellow paint job, covered in black soot and asphalt. Shares the same heavy road equipment as Bessie. But unlike Bessie, it thinks, it feels, it remembers enough to rage. So how did that happen? How does a mindless machine become something that hurts? The answer is in a Mater's Tall Tales episode called Monster Truck Mater. It's silly on the surface. Mater becomes a wrestler. He fights giant opponents in the ring. But one of those opponents changes everything. His name is Dr. Frankenwagon's monster. Compare this wrestler to the Banshee. Same stitched together body, same excavator bucket for a jaw. The only real difference is the base the wrestler uses a Peterbilt cab instead of a Mack. But that name, Dr. Frankenwagon, that's not a joke. That's a confession buried inside a comedy skit. It tells you that somewhere in this universe, someone is running experiments. Someone is taking living vehicle cabs and welding non-living machine parts onto them, bringing hybrids to life not out of necessity, out of obsession. Picture what that surgery actually looks like. You start with a living Mack truck cab, conscious, aware. You bolt on monster truck suspension parts that weren't designed to connect to anything living. You graft in the mindless hydraulics of a road paver like Bessie, forcing a soul to share its body with machinery that has no soul of its own. And then, you rip off the front bumper, which in this universe is its face, and you bolt a cold steel excavator bucket where the mouth used to be. That shattered eye, he didn't crash. He broke it trying to get off the table. He can't form words normally anymore. That bucket wasn't made for speech. The gears inside his mismatched body grind against each other constantly. So he ran. Into the desert, into the dark, into the legend. And when you hear him scream out there in Ornament Valley, that sound isn't aggression, it's pain. But what exactly is feeling that pain inside the metal? Keep that question in the back of your mind, because the answer is the sickest part of this whole universe. Okay, I need to warn you before we go any further. What comes next isn't official canon. It's a theory, one that crawled up from the darkest corner of the internet and hasn't left my head since I found it. If body horror isn't your thing, take a breath. I'll go slow. You might know the Pixar theory, the idea that every Pixar film shares one connected timeline. In that version, the world of Cars takes place after WALL-E. The megacorp, by and large, poisoned the Earth. Humans evacuated in 2100. The machines stayed. You can even spot the By and Large logo on a racetrack in Cars 3. Speaking of the Pixar theory, if you want to know how messed up the human side of this timeline is, I just posted a video on my new second channel, Mr. Cursed. I explain how the toys in Toy Story are actually immortal vampires feeding on children's joy, and how Jessie is suffering from literal, clinical trauma. The link is in the description. You should definitely watch it after this. But what if some humans never left? A writer named Jason Torchinsky put forward something he calls the homunculus theory, and I can't stop thinking about it. He asks a simple question: what if the car is just a suit? Here's how it works. Self-driving cars take over. Real car culture gets pushed to the edge of society. The air outside turns toxic, so the last of the true drivers stop leaving their vehicles entirely. They live in them. Over generations, they forget how to function outside them, and eventually, to keep the line going, they turn to genetic engineering. They grow new humans in tanks and wire them directly into the machines. Plug the nervous system into the steering column. The engine burns gasoline into something the body can absorb. The tailpipe handles the rest. That's why the doors never open. The air outside would kill whoever's in there. That's why the eyes on the windshield are so enormous. The glass is a lens, projecting the real biological eyes of the person inside outward so the world can see them. The car's personality isn't programmed. It is the person, trapped. Now look at the screaming Banshee one more time. That cracked windshield isn't just damage to a vehicle. That broken seal means the human inside has been exposed directly to whatever toxic nightmare sits outside in Ornament Valley. Half of that person's face, behind the glass, is likely dead, or mutated, or both. The Banshee reportedly eats other cars. If there's a biological human inside him, and his fuel systems are destroyed, he's not hunting vehicles. He's desperately consuming whatever biomass he can find, including the humans inside those cars, just to stay alive one more day. When you hear him scream in the desert, you're not hearing a truck horn. You're hearing a person, amplified, echoing through rusted metal walls. A person who's been in there so long, they've lost track of where they end and the machine begins. They hide from sunlight because it burns their exposed, damaged eyes. They snap at a two-word nickname because the human mind inside still remembers clearly the face of whoever did this to them. I feel for the Banshee. I really do. Let's step back, because the Banshee isn't alone. If you've watched Cars on the Road, you know Episode 4. McQueen and Mater run into a pair of cryptid hunters, chasing something called Big Wheel, their version of Bigfoot. McQueen gets separated in the dark woods. He sees a giant shadow on massive tires. It's terrifying. And then it turns out to be Ivy, a monster truck covered head to toe in moss and dirt. She used to be famous. Something broke her. She won't say what. So she ran to the woods and stayed there. Same pattern as the Banshee. Society breaks the ones who don't fit. The broken ones disappear, and the ones left behind turn them into ghost stories. You can see it even wider if you look at planes. A world that builds aircraft carriers and military weapons. A world like that doesn't just tolerate rogue mechanics doing Franken wagon experiments in underground garages. It probably funds them. And Pixar keeps threading these hints through everything. In Cars 3, the Pizza Planet truck ends up in a demolition derby and gets smashed so hard his rocket flies off. Cinderella's carriage sits on a billionaire's trophy shelf. A113 turns up everywhere, like a signature on every dark corner of this universe. None of this is an accident. This world has a shadow side. The Banshee isn't a punchline. He's proof that the shadow exists. One last real-world detail before we close. Mattel tried to make a die-cast toy of the Screamin' Banshee, designed it, planned it, and then canceled it. The only prototype that exists is painted the wrong color green instead of yellow, and the excavator arm is gone. Nobody knows exactly why it was abandoned. Only cheap plastic versions ever made it to shelves. Even in our world, the Banshee got rejected, left incomplete, forgotten. Let that sink in. We started with a 3-second post-credits gag from 2006. A funny giant, a clueless tow truck, a quick laugh before the screen goes dark. And when you pull back the curtain, there's a death spirit named for its own body. A creature tortured by a nickname. A surgical experiment that broke free and ran into the desert screaming. And maybe, a human being locked inside rusting metal, going quietly insane in the dark. That's what's out there in Ornament Valley. So which part hit hardest for you? Is it the Franken wagon surgery, the bullying that left a permanent scar? Or does the homunculus theory keep you up at night? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. This community asks the questions nobody else is brave enough to ask, and I love that about you. If you want to go further down, check out my video on who Frank really is, or the one on Bessie. You'll never feel safe watching this franchise again. Keep your headlights on. Don't let the ghosts get you. I'm Mr. Blessed. Good night, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.